have a solution. The Whine No Whine Show, where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we gather people from all different walks of life and perspectives, and we talk about everything that everyone has told you not to. Religion, politics, and everything under the sun. Nothing is off limits, and we do it all over a glass of wine. So grab a glass and join us as we save America, one civil conversation at a time.
3, 2, 1, action!
You're now live, yeah.
All right. Still my favorite question.
No,
Yes!
Are we live?
Yeah,
Are we
live? Welcome to the Whine No Whine Show, the only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour at no extra charge.
I can't.
America, we have a problem. You know what I'm talking about. I call it the zero to Nazi effect. This is the very scientific measure of the length of time it takes to go from zero to you're a Nazi. I will punch you in the face and go outside and set fire to your car. That's how we disagree in America.
You look at me.
Well, I mean, you are bald, so probably a skinhead.
Shaved.
I'm just
Shaved.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
He self-identified as bald.
right, self-identified bald. That's right. All right. How dare you judge my baldness as being bald?
It's baldism. It is
I have
baldism.
tons of hair.
Yeah.
I identify as a person with lots of hair. It's like
Yes.
Tom Selleck-like hair. How dare you insinuate that I'm bald?
It's just not on your head.
Right. Well, even that is borderline offensive. I'm just saying.
And we just crossed to the PG-13 rating.
Which board are you talking about, Joseph?
Yes. But hey. Got children and dogs watching this show.
I know. Daddy's down here looking. It's like, what the what?
So, on today's show, oh, well, poor Alex is trying to take a picture of the wine literally like right now and get it uploaded. I'll stall. I'll do something different.
Dance.
We're going to be talking about a fun subject today, and I'm sure you guys have your opinion on this, and it is that America has the highest prison population in the world. Like, we're number one. Yay! Hashtag number one. make a prison population great again.
Gosh.
You know when you say hashtag like that, it reminds me of Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yes.
Hashtag.
Mapka.
Yes. Mapka.
Mapka.
Mapka. Make America's prison population great again. Wow.
It took me a long time to figure that out. I'm very proud of
Yeah,
myself.
you got it in there.
Yes. Yeah, he was thinking that whole time. He was just like running the numbers.
Did you smell the smoke?
Crunching the math. We have the highest prison population in the world. Why? Is there a solution to that? We're going to dig into all that today. You guys be sure to share your thoughts in the comment feed. And during the show, our production team is going to select the smartest of you.
See, gotta go.
And those comments will make it to the screen where our guests will get to see them, and we are going to respond to them at some point during the show. So make sure you have something intelligent to say. Be brilliant. On the count of 3, go.
In fact, the comments may replace some of our panel guests. Like myself.
Well, I don't know. Some of my friends, guys, don't even don't be Googling stuff. We know what you're doing.
Why is that one guy a mouth breather?
I love all my friends. They're good. It's the highbrow community.
So that's our topic for today. We're going to dig in. Today on the show, we're going to be drinking a Pinotage. Yeah, it's Kudaland, which is a coastal South African wine, and it is dark ruby in the glass, as you can see here, but slightly translucent. And it says you'll enjoy the intense nose of dried cherry. Y'all smell that?
Yeah, I got some of that.
A hint of leather.
Yeah, I love it. I love drinking my leather.
Yes.
Colton loves it too.
And
I don't know if
now
I'm going to
this
drink
one,
it or get spanked by it. I don't know.
Yeah.
this wine really
That's a
spanked me.
different show.
Now we got a show.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, we're going to be talking about prison, handcuffs, leather.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
What did I sign up
I was
for?
going with the jumpsuit and the green bologna, but you took another turn
whole different
Albuquerque.
angle,
I
baby.
didn't think we were going there.
We know
Yes.
which one of the village people Joe is, right?
In the Navy.
No.
And we have a Navy veteran right
I was
here.
gonna say,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Karen.
Yeah.
There we go. And it says, and hints of caramel. Do y'all smell the caramel?
Really?
No.
I actually smell the caramel. That was actually one of the first things I smelled. I don't
know if I smell it now because you put that in my head. It's psychosomatic or hold on.
So pretty interesting.
I catch it on the finish.
The tannins are smooth and round, and the intensity will stand up with any summer barbecue dish you serve it with. So,
man, that is.
There we go.
That is smooth. No
so
bite,
we will be,
no leather.
We'll be rating this at the end of the show.
We gotta save it for the show.
I tried to fling it. I didn't make it. I just hit the.
I'm just glad you got a ninja star on him.
Right?
No rating of the wine before the end of the show.
Uncle Tim, tell us how you got that big scar across your face.
Well, my service dog was laying down on the job, literally, and didn't protect me. No protection.
All right, so we're going to dig into this topic here and let our guests share their thoughts. Before we do, we're going to let these guys give their shameless plugs and their introductions and tell us who they are. So we always start with the left side of the room over here. So Tim, I will turn it over to you.
This is great. I've never been on the left. This is literally or figuratively. This is great. And
new strides for you.
Thank you. I get to wear two hats, Joe.
Is this a Zoolander thing? You can't turn left.
Blue steel. There it is.
Look! I'm taking crazy pills.
There we go. All right. Hat number 1, Easter Seals. I get to help run a program that supports veterans with the mental health, the activities to help them transition from a military culture into a civilian world, especially here in Houston, we're the second largest population of veterans in the U.S., second only to L.A. County. And then I get to help out so many veterans and those who never got the financial literacy. We were talking about education earlier. And for those who never put things in place, either to take care of their family when they pass, they get sick, or just planning for life events, I get to do all that amazing things and so much more.
Love it.
Nice. Gina.
My name is Gina Smith, and I was a juvenile probation officer for 18 years in Harris County.
I bet you got stories.
I have lots of great, amazing, funny stories. I worked with all girls, so that's even better.
Oh, wow.
And I retired early to take care of my special needs son, and so that's what I get to do now. And I also, on a side gig, I sell skinny wraps for a living. So, fun times.
Is it primarily lettuce or?
You would think that. You know, when I first thought about it, I was like, is it something you eat and get skinny? Because that's what you think.
It does, yeah, wrap. Yeah, I think wrap and
yeah, you just put it on. And
it's leather. It's leather.
You would want it to be leather.
You turn people into the wraps. Yeah. It is, right?
Yes. She makes wraps out of people.
Yeah, you make wrap out of people.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's already. All right, moving on.
Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen. I do a lot of work in the community. I have gone out and done a lot of volunteer work with.
It's not forced labor. It's not.
With community.
That's Saturdays. That's Saturdays.
For children to help raise scholarships, with volunteer work with the Red Cross before they were bad.
Oh! Wow, little.
Well, I still love the Red Cross. I just don't agree with everything they did here.
But about the children that were bad.
I know. No, she was
the Red Cross. Yes.
I'm a regional manager for marketing and be able to get more people to go on websites, and I'm the evil person who brings the pop-ups on your screen and deters you to places you didn't know you were going.
Nice.
Seriously, officer, that's how I got to that site.
Yes.
You said that like you've had to say that a few times. I'm a little concerned.
It was actually to a judge. I replaced him with there he is. Like, no idea
Even better.
how that got on my computer. I just took it in for a simple debugging, yes.
But it paid the bills. It allowed me to do a lot of community work. It allowed me to be a mom and be at home so I could be there for meetings for kids with special needs and kids with disabilities. And I was able to give back to my community. So that's kind of how I, justify that.
Very cool.
And Navy veteran.
And Navy veteran.
Very cool.
Army loves Navy. I don't care what we say about football. Yeah, we're good.
That's because we give a shit.
Oh,
Friendship.
Spell it for everybody.
Ship. Yeah, ship.
Friendship.
Yeah.
F-A-H-A.
Cats, anyone?
Yeah.
I have a great ship story to tell you, by the way. Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
I'm David Pipkin. My shameless plug this week is the fact that I have started a ministry to rehabilitate left lane drivers. If you are one of those people who continuously find yourself driving in the left lane without any vehicles in front of you, and there's a whole bunch of people behind you that can't get by you because there's a car next to you in the right lane, please come see me, come talk to me. We introduce shock therapy, waterboarding. We do all kinds of stuff to help break you of that habit. No, I'm David Pipkin. I am proud to be the Harris County coordinator for the Constitution Party, and we are active and growing in the county. We'll be having our next meeting this next month, towards the end of July. We're still TBD on the date, but if you'll go to our Facebook page, it is Constitution Party of Texas Harris County. Okay, look that up on Facebook. Constitution Party of Texas Harris County. Shameless plug out.
Very good. Very good.
That was like a minute, dude.
That was
both
impressive.
things.
Yes. And
Pro.
Chris Minnemeyer, who is the artist behind me here with this painting that he did, custom work for the Whine No Whine show, which is there's actually genius here. Do any of you get the idea? You know this one, so you can't tell me. What's the message behind this?
Wow. Okay. Tilted glass. It's either going in or out, but it looks like it's splashing out.
Right. Right. Correct.
So it is. So the wine is coming out to really project and show everybody how we reach the community with the message of the week.
That is,
I like that better than the actual explanation.
That is a way smart answer. Think about this. It says whine, no wine, right?
Yeah.
You can't cry over spilt milk, and you can't whine over spilt wine.
Oh, all right.
So Chris Minnemeyer, who's the host on the Thursday edition of the show, the artist edition of the show, put it up on the screen. He is actually remotely controlling our second production laptop right now.
Okay.
Which is why I said that out loud for Alex to hear, who is frantically trying to figure out why my laptop was doing things on its own.
See? Pop-ups went to that site you shouldn't went to, right?
Close that screen, Alex!
Sorry,
Close it down, close it down. Share screen.
Chris put up on the screen, he said that, he goes, at Tim, that Chris Minnemeyer would love to help you with your veteran efforts via art. And so he put that comment up on the screen, so I need to get you two connected. He's a very great guy and just superhuman being and does a lot of charitable efforts. So
looking forward to that,
cool.
Chris. Thank you, sir.
So
not looking there, but
I will connect you two for that, Chris, who is watching the show. So let's dig in here. Let's get thoughts. Let's dial this in. Give your minute bullet point. America has the highest prison population in the world. Why? And I kind of just threw this in the mix after our discussion prior, but that we'll kind of get to at the end of the show is there a solution? Do you think there's a solution? Is there a solution? Is there a problem? Right? We have the highest prison population. Yay, we're number one. Let's keep adding on. Is there a solution? Is there a problem? So we'll discuss that towards the end of the show. So give me your thoughts.
Joe, I really do think that we have a problem here. I know that, or why, I guess I should address that one first. Mm-hmm. And the reason we have the largest prison population in the world is because crime pays. It pays for the criminal, and it pays for the contractor, and it keeps things going on in the United States. I was recently part of a discussion along with the VA, and they were talking about reducing the prison population. They brought in faith-based initiatives, and they also brought in therapy dogs, service dogs, and the prison population went down. They're like, whoa, man, we're losing some revenue. You need to get them back in. So they looked at repeat offenders, and they said, no, we need to be over 90%, kind of like a hotel. And I was like, wow, man, that's interesting. And just like that service industry, if you don't have enough people in there, you don't get the amenities that you would normally get at a hotel or a school. Kind of crappy, but that's what I was given. I was like, And I have some other thoughts, but I'll ping it so somebody else can pong it back.
All right. Very good. Very good. So, Gina.
The reason why I think that we have a huge problem and epidemic is because we are putting the wrong people in prison. I believe that the people that are in prison right now, a lot of the population that I'm aware of, are there for marijuana use and for marijuana, for having marijuana, and I just believe that population is overcrowding our prisons, and that's the reason why we have such a huge prison problem.
Okay.
I truly feel that it's a farming system. I believe that they have looked at the idea of schools and how many students there are in schools, and they've based that on how many prisoners there will be. I mean not the total number, but a percentage of it. I believe that lack of opportunity, lack of education, and lack of being able to have different choices, whether it's economic background or anything else, there is a clear steer towards prison population as a life career. And I believe that you are necessarily pushed that way because there is a lack of opportunity for anything else. I'm not saying it's one ethnic background. I'm saying that whichever population they're going to get, they're going to have the same number.
Okay. David?
Hearing all these takes, I'm kind of a little confused by the question. I'd like to know I'm sure you have some stats in the back of your head that you can throw out at us, because, Joe's the only one that gets to do any show prep. My initial take on this...
I still didn't do any prep.
Well, I mean on research and fact gathering.
Yes.
There's things you probably looked up that we haven't, knowing what the questions were going to be, right? But my initial take on this is that, I don't know that we have a problem with sending the wrong people to prison. I think the people, by and large, and probably better than most any other justice system in the world, the United States of America fills its prisons with criminals. There's no doubt that there are some things that happen that are injustices. There's wrongful arrests. That stuff happens. And anytime you have human beings involved in any kind of system of justice, you're going to have imperfections and injustices that take place. But by and large, most of the people in prison are there for a reason. They committed crime. And so, I point to things within our culture, and, the controversial aspect of this is that when you look at a problem, the tendency is to go to what is the biggest contributor to this problem. And, I know that this is a firebrand statement to make, but I think that there is one segment of the population that is determined by demographics. I don't think it's a racial issue as much as it is a cultural issue within that racial population. But the fact of the matter is that you have roughly 60 to 70% of all violent crime being committed by about 3% of the people, and roughly 40% of all murders being committed by 3% of the people. And we're talking about the population of blacks, male, under the age of 40. Now, what's sad about that is that you can point that statement out, as I mentioned in the pre-show. If I made the statement that 80% of all violent crime is committed by males, no one gets upset about that.
No.
We all just know that's just, and no one accused me of being sexist. But point out the stats on the racial crime makeup and the disproportionate rate at which blacks commit crime, especially violent crime or robberies and things like that, and all of a sudden, I'm being racist. I'm creating a race issue, right? Well, and so that leads to my big announcement, right? Is that as of 2 weeks ago, I've only shared it with Joe so far. I am now black, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, really?
I am now black. Yes, I found out
Transracial?
that the requirement to be black in America is you have to have 1 drop of black blood. And I'm sure somewhere in my family, someone messed around in the wrong place, or the right place, or whatever it might have been. So I'm now black, so I can now comment on these things and not be accused of being racist.
I have to laugh because if we're going to take that road down there, I'm like that is definitely a left turn to Albuquerque on that one. And I'm speaking from Albuquerque. I'm telling you, my family got to serve on both sides of the fence. My father was a policeman, and he was killed in the line of duty. So he served his country in the Army, and he served his community as a police officer.
He was killed as a police officer.
He was killed as a police officer, and his the guy who murdered my father died in prison, rightfully so. He got 2 choices. Well, he didn't get the choice. It was either you're going to get the chair, it was in Missouri, or you were going to, or lethal injection. And only Texas has the chair. In fact, we have the bleacher, I think. Or you have life in prison.
The bleacher?
The bleacher. We want to get them all at one time. Just line them up, hit the switch. That's right. That was Governor Perry's idea.
I actually kind of like that idea.
A little more efficient.
Yeah, publicly.
Take them down to Texas A&M. I mean, they can't have bonfires anymore. So hey,
Oh,
too soon?
Man.
Come on, that's not too
Oh,
soon.
yeah.
Wow.
No, I was the mental image of what you were.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then the other side of the Stroud house, my great uncle Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz. Robert Stroud was my great uncle.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You know,
It's
that's a clickable moment. In
there we go.
To your uncle, the
moment.
Birdman of Alcatraz.
There we go.
That's
It's-
awesome.
Are you guys?
To your dad is what I'm.
Thank you.
what's
I
coming.
was gonna say, are you gonna put that that little star with the rainbow? The more you, or with the stars behind it, the more you know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That goes across over there.
There we go.
So, but you know, I see the problem that's. Oh, let me take a drink because that's really.
Yeah,
bad.
we did. Yeah,
That's
go
right.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We'll wait on the show.
Oh,
while
there
you
we
take-
go. It was a highbrow because I didn't have pinkies out there, but
When in doubt,
the-
pinky out.
man, we're gonna. Yes, we'll go with that one right there. And you know what?
Real men have the
as,
pinkies
as
out.
soon as we started talking about the prison population, my mind started going to the sheriff Arpaio. Is that his name?
Joe.
Man,
Sheriff Joe.
love that guy. I know he's very controversial, but most of the people, 90-ish%, were in there for the wrong reasons, and we were doing the right things by trying to rehabilitate them, or, in my mind, give them what they earned. Right?
Mhm.
They got that coming. Karma's a bitch. That bus came by, and boom, boom, they got him. So hey, man, you're gonna wear the flip flops, the pink outfits, and you're gonna eat that green bologna, right? Bologna?
Bologna.
Oh,
I'd say bologna.
Yeah, bologna. Bologna. And there's no
Bologna.
Oscar Mayer for them. Exactly. And so I think that that was one solution. I think that if we treat our prisoners like prisoners, instead of giving a free Wi-Fi in college and saying, hey, we're going to rehabilitate them, I got it. I understand. They're either a problem there or they're a problem here. Well, don't get me wrong. I want them a problem over there. I've suited these guys when they come out of the military through a program called Career Gear. They help out veterans and they help out people who've been in the system, men. And when they come out, I've suited both of them. In fact, my first day there volunteering, I got to suit a veteran. He'd served 21 years, retired as a first sergeant. Another guy who had served 20-ish years inside the system, didn't even have the flip phone. But I had the honor of suiting both of them. And I was so proud because this guy was rehabilitated in the system. And he said it wasn't easy. I said, well, neither was the military being over in Iraq. He's like, okay, I totally see that one. And so when I see someone like that come out and work their ass off to get a job and knowing that they're going to start down here, they can't vote, can't carry a sidearm, I got it. But this mamby-pamby stuff that we try to put on there, because all they got in there is time and opportunity, right? They can write letters, they can go to school and do all this stuff, and I think that's wrong. I think I know I took a curveball here, but I think we really need to treat them as give them what they've earned, if that makes sense.
So my take right now is we've been talking about the prison system, and your mind immediately goes to men. But there are
you got me
the
there.
prison system
Yeah, you were
for
a
women.
probation officer for girls.
That's
Yes,
right,
for
yeah.
girls. And
yeah.
so that we would go into the prison systems and we would talk to the women that were there. And yeah, so there, that's a whole nother dynamic because most women are mamas and they, so that's another issue as well. But,
What would you say the population, men versus women?
I have no idea. Joe?
Well, they say you talked about this a couple weeks ago about the crime rate that the women are committing crime at or above the same rate as men. Not violent crime, but
not violent crime. Violent crime is dominated by males. Yeah, like not even close.
Right, right.
But yeah, they're.
I was making up the 80%, but I think it is close.
But I think most of the
So-
women that are in prison, they're in there for an extended period of time because they, when they do something, they do it really good.
Now, what were your
Oh, in the
ladies
violent
for?
crime department, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If
big time, yeah.
The ones that do go violent usually go. They're all in. Yeah, all chips in. One of the things that was the question on the table, at least the first portion of the question, we have why, and then we have is there a solution? I absolutely think this needs to be discussed because
I agree.
there's a why that I feel is massively relevant. Right? There's a lot of nuances and a lot of angles. You touched on a racial aspect of it. We've touched on economics of it.
But I'll say I think there might be an aspect of what I'm saying that absolutely leads into what you're talking about. I bet
you already know where I'm going.
I
right?
think
yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
that happens sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we were actually twins separated.
Right, right.
Oh, you're black too. Huh?
Right.
He didn't know that though.
Right.
I was waiting till later to tell him.
I can see the Schwarzenegger DeVito thing. I mean, the twins. I went there.
Got it,
Hey,
got it.
I'll take that. I'm far from Schwarzenegger, but I'll take that.
Far from DeVito.
Oh, I thought he was calling you DeVito.
See, that's what I get
Wait a
for
minute,
assuming.
I'm so lost here.
More wine, please. More wine.
That's awesome.
No, I think that there is a stat that, I mean, like, there's a whole industrial prison complex thing going on where prisons are a profit-driven system.
Right.
That's absolutely an issue. I think it's a very serious issue that we really need to deal with and look at. There's a bunch of other nuances, but there's a why here for me. There was a comment Spencer had made a second ago. Spencer, who was on the show just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He said, how do we fix the problem? Stop committing crime. Poof. That's
right.
right. So to your comment, crime is at the heart of it. If they weren't committing crime, we wouldn't have this large population.
But to stop committing crime, you have to have other opportunities.
Right.
Right.
So check it out. So this is the comment I was going to make. There's a stat that is kind of mind-blowing, a mind-blowing stat.
Yep.
That in the 90 percentiles, and especially with violent crime, in the 90 percentiles, prisoners have no father figure.
Yep.
You know what? That's the same research I've been on there with the military and those who go into the system. You're exactly right.
And then
Right.
And so,
the family dynamic has completely changed.
right. I would say so. We didn't have a prison population problem, in the early 1900s. That we didn't have the exploding prison population in the early 1900s. We didn't have it in the 1800s. That started becoming a 50s on up issue.
I'll even say that we didn't even have a degree for this type of thing until about 20 years ago.
But we
There we
went
go.
into the prison business.
What do you mean?
We did.
degree?
We went into
A
the prison
degree.
business.
Well, hold on. What do you mean a degree?
So, like, criminal justice is now, it was not even a degree.
Oh, I see. In
when
terms of
it's-
education.
Yes, in
Okay,
terms of
yeah, yeah,
education.
right.
Now you have to have a criminal
I thought you were talking about a
justice.
measurement, like a degree.
Oh, I see what
Okay.
you're saying. No.
Yeah.
No, but we went into the prison business. We took prisoners from other states and other areas so we could make money off of that farm system. Again, it's not just a farm system from our communities and schools, but it's also a farm system for America. And Texas is one of the biggest prison population it is in America. And it's a huge deal. It's a large moneymaker. There is a lot of income that Texas gets from prisons that a lot of people don't see or understand.
But when you cite that statistic, it's all because this was one of the few things I liked about George W. Bush when he was answering in the campaigns. That stat was pointed out, and he rightfully answered. Well, we're also the largest state in the continental United States, population-wise and area-wise. So I believe that's right.
But Alaska
that's
doesn't
it.
have it.
And that's what I mean.
He said Congress.
In the continental.
I'm just
Well,
saying.
and the
if we
population
were
of
bears outside.
Yeah, and the population of Alaska is nowhere close. But
Yeah.
my question, because you brought that point up too, so I want to clarify that. What do you mean by a farm system? What are they doing to cause people to go back into the prisons?
So, from a profitability standpoint, right? There's just even so many different points here. In a recent study, the length of criminal sentences, there's a disparity between, and this is an area where I do feel like there's an issue, a racial issue. Now, what I don't have enough background on is it a matter of a racial issue or is it a matter of an economic issue? I really think that's much more of a factor
I
than
think
people
so,
give
too.
credence to. In other words, the person who can afford the best attorney wins.
Every
right?
time.
Or can
I don't doubt there's a factor to that, without a
Right.
doubt.
So it
But
doesn't
part
matter.
of that is a byproduct of what you just talked about, though.
Right. So it's confused for being a racial thing, I think, more often than it's really an economic thing.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, let's face it. OJ established the price of out front murder at about $5 million.
Yep.
Right. If you're going to commit a very out front murder that everybody knows you did, it's going to cost you about $5 million. You have to hire Johnny Cochran, who's no longer with us, so it's going to be really hard. Or the equivalent, and you're going to have to pay about $5 million for your legal defense, and you're going to get out with things like the glove doesn't fit, you got to quit. I mean, like cute, catchy marketing phrases like that, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, economics absolutely is a factor in that sentencing. But there is a disparity in sentencing for equal crimes and all sorts of things, and that is an issue.
Right.
I see that as an issue.
But we acknowledge if all you can get is the public defender,
right,
you're
stuck.
going to get the defense you pay for.
Defend.
So it
Right.
ties in her
That's
point
right.
about
Right.
it ties in her point about marijuana, but that you know, whether that's interesting to hear your take on this about, you know, it's still a crime whether we like it or not. It is right now. Could we reduce the prison population by reducing?
Well, in different states, it's a crime.
Right.
Right, and I
So
think that
that's
one of
already
the things
started
that we
changing.
need to look at also, if we're going to solve the problem, we have to compare and contrast our system with others that are working or not working also around the world. And you look at some of the other cultures. I remember seeing one of the posters at one of the jail diversion programs for veterans. It was talking about the penance that you have for different crimes. If you're caught stealing in some of the third world countries, they cut off something. And so you're caught lying. They cut off something, and so it's like
And their system for justice, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
but keep going. No,
Cut
keep
it off, get
going.
it?
But their system for getting to that point
It's
Right.
quick-
is
quick.
it's not like what
Absolutely,
there is no
absolutely.
reasonable doubt
That's
standard.
true.
Yeah.
And the last one is like if you're a male and you rape a woman, they cut off something.
Yeah.
And
What
so-
would they cut off?
Pinky, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So some would say. But you know, you look at so.
Oh,
There you
Yeah,
go.
he's not short on personality or character, is he?
Right.
What I'm saying is, you look at the other countries around the world, and it's not just saying you take it to the extreme and you say that everything is death or death by oogly. But it's like, no, you look at that and you do what's firm and fair to the populace to on this side of it, because you on the basic human level you do something to avoid a loss or gain a benefit. Avoid that loss. Hey, you got that prison sentence that's coming up here. Okay, great. Better not do that because I'm going to get this. And you're like, well, I can sell some crack. And it's like, that's worth it. I can get by. But you also you look at gain the benefit over here. Where's that mental health counseling? Where's the programs that we were talking about for those fatherless youth that are out there? There's got to be something in this hand over here that we're taking care of our people, because on a basic human element, we look around. When Harvey happened, oh my goodness, we're coming up on the anniversary pretty quickly.
Yep.
I was out there the day after the floods. Literally and figuratively, some of these people had zero bank account, money in their bank account. I don't know if Colton moved the camera. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
To people who were millionaires.
Right.
They got in the same boat.
That's right.
And so I look at all of that
And
as
the other flip side is they helped one another.
absolutely.
They didn't say, oh.
And on a
anything.
basic level, we're all humans.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're taking care of our brothers and sisters, our community that's out there, because we either take care of it on this side or we've got to have it on this side.
Right.
And it's just so much more humane, and we have a great community when we do it over here. And I think that part of it will be in preventative. Part of it is based, let's throw it on society. But let's own that. Say, okay, great, this happened to me. I'm an adult. I know I need to do better. Here's the program, and we promote those.
Well, I know we have to get to a commercial break here pretty quickly. And I don't know if Chris remembered who's running the comment feed from afar, so he can't even hear me saying this until the delay catches up as he's watching it on his phone. But we're going to go to a commercial break. I don't know, who do we have queued today?
Whoever you want.
Well, look at that. Do you have Dean?
Yep.
That's
Moderator's choice.
We haven't done Dean's commercial here in a while, so we need to get Dean up there.
Today.
So we're gonna watch a commercial. Hey everybody, Joe Orsack, host of the Whine No Whine Show. Home loans. But be sure to stick around and see if your comment's going to be one of the ones we address. And when we come back from the comment break, we're gonna hit some of the topics or hit some of the comments from the comment feed and let our guest hop on that. So we'll be right back. Hey everybody, Joe Orsack, host of the Whine No Whine Show. And I'm here with my special new guest, Dean DeBassi, brand new sponsor of the Whine No Whine Show. Can't wait till he gets to tell you all about himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dean DeBassi, and I'm with First Choice Loan Services. We close all of our loans on time. We have great rates and low fees, and we have push button get mortgage. All right, just kidding. Just kidding. In all seriousness, folks, we are a boutique mortgage lender, and we lend in 49 states. We choose not to play in the commoditized lending world, such as push button get mortgage. There is no such thing.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Compton with JLA Realty, Houston's fastest growing real estate team, and I'm very pleased to announce that I'll be opening a new office in Spring, Texas. One of the things that I depend upon with my business is being able to refer my clients to a lender that I can trust, because that can be the difference between them being able to buy the home of their dreams or not being able to buy a home at all. So, I've always referred my clients to Dean. He always takes care of them. If you're thinking about getting a home loan, do not go with one of the big guys where you're just going to be a number. Give Dean and his team a chance.
I am a certified mortgage planning specialist. Less than 1% of all your originators have that designation. So, if you are seeking a mortgage and would like to experience a true boutique mortgage experience, please call the number below or go to DeBassiLoans.com. Let us show you why First Choice Loan Services is leading the mortgage lending industry.
Now.
From the box.
Wait, Joe, hold on. Here.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, so we got all, chatty and just shooting the bull while we're waiting on the commercials to come back. Yeah, so anyway, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. That was Dean DeBassy with First Choice Home Loans. Man, he's just a rock star when it comes to mortgages. Brand new sponsor, Nicole Thalgy with eXp Realty down in the southeast side of town. She is your go-to gal for all residential real estate, and a super cool chick. She's just a very nice gal. Loves the show, and she really is just sponsoring the show to support the show.
And she really is Wonder Woman too, just so you know.
Who is this?
She actually is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is this?
Nicole Thalgy.
Wow, okay.
So look her up.
That's actually who
Does
she
she
is.
spin? Because when I saw Linda Carter spin, and then I saw the
You were a fan.
Boom, 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 boom. I know that's not the song, but it's in my head.
And now it's in our head too.
Yes, y'all are all going to want to rewind that later. Yeah.
I didn't know we were on the artist edition.
Right?
Come here, buddy. I'm going to need some therapy over here.
We have Chelsea Connolly up in Longview, Texas with the Body Mechanics Massage Therapy. She's an awesome gal. CC's Pizza, brand new sponsor.
Ooh, yeah.
Brand new sponsor. Thank you, CC's.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that,
They
David,
rock
you
the
shared a
pizza.
slice.
Yeah,
What was
they
that? The Supreme?
The Supreme rocks. doesn't
Dude,
it?
that had tons of stuff on it. It was packed. You couldn't see the sauce, which is great.
Right?
Sometimes you get the Supreme, you're like, yeah, it's a piece of everything.
They're
It was
definitely,
covered. It was
they're
good
definitely
stuff.
rocking the pizzas for us. And it's the CC's Pizza right here in Humble, Texas, in the same parking lot of our studio. So they're taking care of us, great folks. And Phil and Derek's down in Midtown, the jazz bar. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to go down there, check it out. They have live music 7 nights a week. And if you try to go on the weekends, it's almost forget it unless you get there like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's a packed
So
house.
jazz bar, full piano, everything else there, or what's going on?
They have a jazz band.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like a full band, and they have different folks, and it's really pretty
Okay.
slick. Yeah,
That's great.
So Phil and Derek's in Midtown, very nice place. And John Cruz, the owner of the place, is a longtime friend of mine, and also, he hopes to get business from the advertisement. Don't get me wrong, obviously, but just loves the concept of the show. He's been on the show, and he's just supporting the show. So that's the awesome kind of sponsors we have. So, anywho. Getting back into the topic here, America has the largest prison population in the world. Why, and is there a solution? So I wanted to hop. I think we have a little bias in the production crew.
No, that would never happen.
Chris has got his comment. He said, why not create a higher level fee system and debt work-off program for violent offenders? Said, but then to work in DMVs, it can't get much worse than that, or can't get much worse there. Ha ha. So I'm like,
I can name one thing worse than working in the DMV.
Waiting.
Having to wait
in
in the DMV. Yes, exactly right.
It's just like that movie with the sloth.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, that was part of the movie,
Zootopia,
but
yeah.
it's like Zootopia was it. The sloth took
Yes.
forever.
That's how I feel.
We would chew up the whole show.
So a couple friends of mine posted. It was very comedic. They were like posting updates from the DMV. It's like it was like hour 3.
Meanwhile,
Oh
the
my
wrench.
goodness.
The guy who was pacing for the last hour and a half has lost all hope and has resigned himself to a seat in the corner. You know, that kind of stuff. And for forever, I don't know what spurred this. There was a picture of a cat looking through a hole in a ceiling. It was like somebody had cut a hole in the sheetrock, and the cat just had its head shoved down. Like,
You hoped it was a cat.
Oh, it was definitely a cat, right? And so I clipped that out and I saved it. And anytime he posted a picture, I would take his picture and I would put the cat on top of it. And I would make up these comments. It's like, cat god, does this, right? So it was just like it was a sunset and he's like peeking through the sky, like going, hey, what's going on, people? I was like, cat god. So he had posted a picture, or posted the comment. I went and looked for a DMV picture and all these people like waiting in line. And I had him like looking through the ceiling tile, and it said "Cat God checks in on Purgatory Room 147A."
Nice.
And they just lost it. They thought it was hilarious because they were in purgatory, sitting in the DMV.
The Beetlejuice syndrome, right?
So your point is that we don't need prisons if we just send them to the DMV.
Make them wait. Here,
Just make them wait at the DMV.
So here's what we
I
do.
think
Place at
more
the DMV,
violent
right?
crimes would happen at the DMV.
Well,
if all
that could
the
also
violent people were there.
solve a problem.
Right.
I mean,
So
that's
what?
a victimless crime.
I've got the solution worked out. So this is what we do. It's like a prison work system. All you do is drive by and hand them your paperwork, and you leave. And then
they have to wait in line.
They wait in line.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's just a non-stop waiting
That's
in
like
line.
hell. That's like pushing the boulder up to
Right.
the top for it to roll back down, right?
Right.
One of the things,
And if it gets violent and they kill each other,
They-
they
yeah,
solve one of those
There's only
problems.
one place worse to wait than the DMV.
Oh, gee.
Oh,
The VA Center.
I knew you were going to go there. Another
Yeah.
topic.
Very nicely done.
Another
Yeah.
topic on
Yeah,
that one. So,
I've
hey,
heard.
you know what? We were talking about possible solutions. I remember when I was helping my grandmother clean out her basement. And obviously, I'm not talking about Texas because we don't have basements. But it was in St. Charles, Missouri. And God bless her, she was just an angel. And I was helping her clean out the house.
See how it is.
And on Highway 270 in St. Louis, it's very close to the Beltway down here in Houston. And so I saw a paper, and I'm looking at it, and she kept all the iconic papers from back in the day. So Elvis, the landing on the moon. And so I'm going through this, I go, Grandma, you don't want these? And she's like, no, you can have them. I'm like, oh, yeah, frame those guys. And I'm flipping through, and I look, and I see a little bit of 270, then dot, 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 dot. And I was like, the dots are when it's going to be completed, right? And she's like, okay, that's good. And she's like, do you know who completed those? I go, the lowest bidder, just like in the military, who builds the tanks, right? And she's like, no, our prisoners were the driving force that built Highway 270. I would love to see that come back. And of course, the contractors who are all watching this like, no! We
They're
hire some of them
hard
anyway.
workers, though,
But
some of them.
they love getting out of the prison. They got work. They got extra bonuses. They got good food fed to them by the contractors that were out there. And I was like, well, surely they had all these people running away on chain gangs. And she's like, Tim, we didn't have chain gangs. This is, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They went out there. They loved to be out there. They were building something for their community.
It was something they had worked for to earn that
Absolutely.
privilege.
And
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
man, you don't.
And I felt proud.
When's the
pride.
last time? We've never seen it in our
Well,
lifetime, have we?
there's a different
Right.
sense of community and a different sense of pride today's standard than there was back then.
Yeah.
There's a different sense of authority.
Good point.
Spent my full time.
There's a different sense of the level and the importance of education. There's a different level of importance for authority in education. There's a different level for that than there was 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Right.
And it's very sad to see that Tide Pods and swallowing Tide Pods is more important than doing things that are creative and productive.
Well, that ties back to a comment you made earlier that I mentioned in the break that I would try to tie back to. So here it is, right? Because I think that there's a lot of, in fact, there was a quote, Thomas Sowell maybe, I forget who it was, but a lot of the stuff we talk about that gets tied back to mental health and society and those values. What does that mean? I mean, the thing that you can go back to in the 50s and previous to that is the respect for that authority
Right.
came from a respect for morality, a respect for for honoring the true heritage of this nation. You know, they didn't. No one in the 50s got offended at someone saying "God bless America."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, it was
So-
still in schools.
Right.
Let's grab a couple comments here. Andrea Lipczak Pustajowski. I'm
It's
totally,
very
to say.
nicely done.
Thank you, sir. I'm totally guessing at that, but Andrea said, provide long-term mental health facilities to treat those who need it before they commit crime.
So again,
Absolutely.
let me piggyback onto that, because again, we had made the comment in the pre-show that what was it during the Clinton administration that one of his higher ups, it may have even been the great Joycelyn Elders, right? But I'm not sure if that was her or not. But she said, like, if you pray and you believe God actually hears you and answer prayers, and you attend church and you actually read your Bible expecting God to speak to you through it, you're mentally ill. You're part of the sickness in America.
Wow.
When you focus on this mental health, and I always come back to this quote, Benjamin Rush, right? By renouncing the Bible, philosophers swing from their moorings on all moral subjects, because once you get off that standard for morality, what's moral?
Well, yeah,
Right, and Roland Lemus, I think he was stating the same. Oh,
Well,
there he is,
we're gonna get to
Sorry,
Roland's
yeah.
comments. All right, I want to hear Karen's point here.
Well, we're also asking people to do an amazing amount of things that they're not getting paid for. We're also asking teachers
Earthquake?
to not only be an armed guard, but also be a mental health person.
Right.
They're also asking people to go out there and teach and educate, be a substitute parent at sometimes. We're asking them to be able to be a social worker. We're asking them to do all these things, and we're burning our teachers out to the point that we're not paying them, we're not giving them the benefits they deserve, and we're not giving them the respect as sometimes they go to school and they have no reason to go the next day.
Well, and more than that, we've given them less power to discipline.
Absolutely, but at
Oh,
the same
man.
time, there has to be fair discipline and not a funnel to send a certain amount of the segment that doesn't get access to the education to the prison system.
Well, and a lot of times now it's kids. So it's I
Yeah.
know we've talked about that's where the solution is. Well, the solution, they're already on probation. You know, it goes kind of back
In
to what you were
elementary
talk-
school.
Yes, so it has to be even
Wow.
lower. It can't, so the solution isn't necessarily catch mental health, because are you going to be able to catch mental health when they're 5 years old? A big solution would be Big Brothers Big Sisters. Where did that program go?
And-
Why are not people stepping up and saying, I will help one kid, and if I help one kid and I will commit to that one kid and I will help them for the next 10 years of their life, that is a huge way of not allowing them to go into the prison system.
And have real solutions and policies that work inside the school, and not this is the way it's going to be no matter what. We're not going to look at the situation individually.
Well, and now with the schools, they don't let anybody come in and visit. They don't let anybody.
Right.
So you have this,
Police
you have
officers,
5
whatever.
people that are here that are willing to help.
I'll have to put the big T on that one, except around military posts. They allow active
Yeah.
duty to
They
go
That's a
don't
in.
let
different
in
culture.
this- yeah.
That's a different
But-
culture.
Well, they
I want
also
to
have
tie
dads
this
like
back
dogs.
though, because this comes back to, because believe it or not, Joe laid out the other side of the bridge that I had started with what my initial comment was.
Ooh, you
Which
bridge builder.
it ties back to fatherhood. It ties back
Right.
to those
Yes.
traditional time-honored family
It is
values.
Father's Day
I wanna
weekend.
get to
Because it
Roland's
is Father's Day weekend. I know. Hold on. Let me.
I'll get to
you
Roland's
there.
comment because it's where you're going.
It's
Exactly right. It's
Yeah.
because when you look at that, all these things we're talking about doing. I love Spencer's comment he made last week when we were on together. He said it's like putting a Band-Aid on a corpse,
Yeah.
right? Because all we're doing is looking at the system to deal with the problems, and not looking at what the source of the problems
Correct.
really is. And number one source is you've got God, and we become disconnected from God.
Yeah.
Number two to that is we have essentially essential to society is the family structure.
But if you,
And let me wrap this up.
Sorry.
Essential to society is the family structure, and when you erode that family structure, when you have, I don't know, and this is where I was saying, focusing on the black community, the level of fatherlessness in the black community is 2 to 3 times what it is everywhere else.
Right.
So yes, it's true. If you go into a prison and you took a poll of that population, it's 90+% of that population. But when you look at, and this is kind of complex to spell out without a blackboard or a chalkboard here, but whites are like 6 times the population of blacks. So for the population in prisons to be predominantly black, speaks to how disproportionate the level of crime is that's being committed by the black population. If it was all brought into proportion by focusing on these time-honored values and traditions, I love the video of the guy that said, "I've been released from the plantation." The black guy from Candace Owens, right? With her Turning Point, her little thing they do, and he said, a black man was saying this. He said, they don't want us to be fathers. They don't encourage us to be fathers because the Democrat-run system, which is also largely the Republican-run system, it breeds this. It's generational. You just keep voting us in. We'll keep your welfare checks coming. We'll keep you in your low poverty and low class neighborhoods, right? And speaking to access of education, well, what better way to keep people and their children imprisoned than by determining where they go to school by the house they can afford?
Well,
we've got to get rid of that.
And not just that, they don't want to fix the problem. The problem causes...
That's what I'm addressing.
The problem makes too much money for the state. And
we want to address the problem. Constitution Party.
That's
shameless plug again.
But that's what it comes down to is if you don't want to address the problem, you don't want to fix the problem, then they're not having a real conversation.
But I think also just we sit here and we go, oh, the problem is so big. And it is so big. We are the largest. We have the most people in prison. And it is a big problem. But if you just take the initiative yourself to help one person, and if everybody would do that, that would be a huge solution.
Michael Jackson said it, the man in the mirror.
Yeah, you got to get starts where the problem starts.
Here's the other thing we haven't talked about, and that we've got 3 veterans in the room, and tons of them watching. Military prisons. You look at that one, there's a
That's
what
a whole
I've
different
seen,
ballgame.
yeah, there's the great equalizer. It's a big green machine. They don't look at your age, your ethnicity. They look at your crime. And don't get me wrong, there's still a little bit of a good old boy system in there.
Sure.
But at the same time, you're looking at something that if they could have solved in the military through that leadership, which I think they really should have. We've gone away from the leadership model of more as a ka-chunk, pass it down, ka-chunk, pass it down. Which war are we fighting today? Okay, yeah, send them. And who are we fueling these days out of the 195 countries that we support? And then you look at these prisons, when they get out, okay, there's no pension, there's no disability, and there's they can't vote, they can't get they can't carry a sidearm. Look at all these things against them. Where in the hell are they gonna go, and what are they gonna do? So.
Roland had a comment, and this is where the delay in the camera feed is really going to be a challenge. But Roland had kind of addressed the same comment that we had, from
where I was leading.
Yeah, where we were leading. But it's worth acknowledging here. Roland said, "Don't know the numbers of all the men and women that do not have a mom or dad in the family. However, I do know that the
when people have
comment
God.
feed will change.
Yeah.
However, I do know that when people have God in their lives, less crime is committed. Yes, there are Christians that do commit crime.
Right.
It's not saying this is a blank check that all Christians are perfect and never commit crimes. That's not what he's saying.
Love our neighbor.
But yeah, there is a I had this conversation with someone recently. Even on the show, but the conversation I had recently stemmed from the conversation on the show. My opinion is that if there is no God, then it's all subjective morality. It's just an opinion. Like, well, you cut in line, so? Well, that's wrong. Who says? Right? If you get too lippy, I'm going to break your leg and push you out of line, and you don't even get to be in line, let alone be in front of me. Might makes right. So without God, morality becomes subjective. And so, when we, as Benjamin Rush, and you always quote so much, when we disconnect from God, we've lost our moorings and we swing from whatever opinion fits our suit that day. So that's a big one. And our society was at one point very much understood that family, which you had already mentioned as well, was a central component of the societal structure. When we stop standing on that point, made divorce far easier than it used to be, and there's pros and cons. I understand that. That's a whole other show. When it became much easier to divorce and single parenting became much more of an issue, the best mom will never be a dad.
Right.
And the best dad will never be a mom.
I don't
But you
know.
have to let-
You're
Jenna
leading
would
my
argue
closing
with that.
comment. No, you're leading my closing comment.
There's some people that,
Hey.
that will
Yeah.
argue with it, but
But-
they're,
No, you're
Chris's
wrong.
comment here,
Yeah.
we need to
Good
jump on
stuff.
that,
I
that
agree.
last one.
All right, Chris Minnemeyer said, education programs such as public school could be the cause of mental health issues. They are closer to prison than school, and kids are molded there.
There was an interesting point on that I
Absolutely.
want to tag on to
I
that
agree.
real quick.
Bullying's huge.
That this whole thing that you've heard the move lately that's happened over, I guess, the last 5 to 8 years, maybe even slightly before that, where there have been a lot of politicians that have started saying we need to start, instead of starting at kindergarten, need to start at pre-K, right? And I won't even name the author that pointed this out because I no longer am a fan of hers, but this was a point of accuracy that she brought up. Was that when we moved to a kindergarten education program, and given the fact that what they're now teaching, that actually sparked the decline of America's education results in the developed nations. We continue to plummet. The more we have government education, the worse our children are becoming in terms of not just what they're learning and how they stack up, but the discipline problems. I think Chris has a really great point there. Take up a moment, Chris.
I would agree with Chris, but I also want to say that you have to let a parent parent, and if you're not allowed,
If they will.
if you,
Yeah,
but
if they
you
will.
cannot make it a problem or or detriment a parent to be a parent, to discipline and to teach right from wrong. When you take the ability away from a parent to be able to parent, you're going to have other issues. But also in the education system, I think that it should be a partnership and not just one-sided. I think that sometimes if you have kids that are with disabilities, it can't be a straight cutthroat, you're out of school, you're going to prison, we're going to file charges. It can't be one or the other. It has to be a partnership to make it. It has to be a community issue to be able to bring a child up.
And I agree. I've got 2 points on what you guys were saying. I had the honor of actually hiring Sir Ken Robinson through when I was with the Chambers of Commerce, and I encourage everyone watching to Google it on his TED Talk, and he talks about education. How in the United States it's an antiquated system that's based on agriculture. We get out in right before summer when we would traditionally plant, and then all the way to harvesting the crops. And we've got 10 weeks where the kids have the summer slide. Over in Europe, where my daughters go to school, it's about the same time, but it's spaced out throughout the year, so they have that one. And my eldest speaks 5 languages, my youngest speaks 3. They lose a little bit of the sports, but they gain so much more in academia. And the other point was with our society as we've colonized the United States, and we've gotten to this point. If you want to turn it all back around, stop all of the churches, the synagogues, and the mosques. Get rid of them. You cannot build enough prisons to house all the
That's
crime
exactly right. That's your best
Yeah.
clickable moment right there.
Alrighty. Ding, 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 ding.
And I will say, because I am biased, and because of the moderator, I get to do this sort of thing, that both
Power
my kids,
freak.
that both my kids homeschool. I had a unique upbringing in that I went to a private school, Catholic school, from kindergarten through 8th grade. Had nuns and the whole shebang, and they'll smack your hands with the rulers and the whole business. And then I went to public high school. And it was the experience of the dramatic difference between the two that even long before I ever dreamed of having kids or even thought about having kids, said I will never send my kids to public school. Never,
Because you're not paying
ever.
for it.
And it was...
Oh, you're paying for it.
And let me tell you...
You're paying for it.
Public school in the 80s caused that reaction in me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even fathom my reaction
now,
would be
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right? And so when private school represented a third of my income,
Yeah.
a third of my income,
Wow.
we still sent our kids to private school.
That's
And
what
I
we
drove
did.
a 20-year-old Toyota Camry with no AC because it was a matter of priority for me.
Right.
I saw the difference between the two.
But that goes back
And-
to economics. You could do that.
Well, I mean, I could do
They
it, but it was
sacrificed. I mean,
yeah,
it's
it
not
was
like
it was
it's
a
given to-
huge
Yeah.
yeah.
But when you
but-
say economics, I
um,
mean, people earned what, his parents earned what they.
And
what
I
they
will I
made.
will tell you, you said we have an outdated system. I was I'm going to tie all these thoughts together, right? We got to a point where it got more expensive as the kids get older, right? As they go up higher, the cost goes way up, right? And so it got exorbitant for us. And our kids actually came to us and said, we want to homeschool, right? And they had already done all the research. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, but this and that. And they're like, well, actually, Dad, slides and,
wow.
like, let me bring out
they are your children.
Let me bring out the flip charts, Dad. And they had prices researched and options and all.
We need a bigger room. Joe's chest is getting really big.
Right. I was floored by it. I really was. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So
that is awesome.
So they both have been in it now for a couple of years, and they still have to take the same tests and all this kind of the national test and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, my chest does puff out on this because both of them are top quarter of the nation. My son and daughter both are top 5% of the nation in multiple categories, and my son was in top just less than 1% in multiple categories, and that's homeschool. And the cost of homeschool, doing it all online, is, I would say, compared to a public school education, dollar per dollar, it's not even close.
Yeah, but how many parents are able to do that?
This is my point, though.
You're going there. All right.
Yeah, I was saying is that I said dollar per dollar, right? So I'm paying for students in public school.
That's right
now.
Well, he's still paying his taxes.
Right. Yeah. Whether I like it or not, by force, they're making me pay. Right. So I have to by force support a failed system that I don't believe in. Right.
And you know what they would say to him because when you go to them and say them, the government, the education board, whatever. No, well, yes, in so many words, they say, well, you still need to pay those taxes because you're getting the benefit of all these other kids we're educating. And my natural argument to that is well then, if that's the case, you need to be paying my tuition for my kids because you're getting the benefit of my kids' education, which is superior to all this crap you're teaching these, right?
So I'm like, man, if we nixed all the public education and went to the online training, it's far more efficient, takes them less time. They do better. They get a better education on all regards, all facets. They're doing better with less time. It takes them less time.
I want to tie that back
and it would
to her comment.
save millions.
Is this a 3-hour show? Because I feel that we're going there.
Well, to your comment of access, that's what I'm saying is that when you have a system that determines where kids go to school, not because where the parents want to send the kids or where they can afford to send their kids, but you've got them tied in. You've got a whole bunch of bureaucratic red tape that if you want to send your kid to a different school than the crap school that you're zoned to, right, based on the house you can afford, well then you've got to go through this bureaucratic red tape. You still got to pay your taxes. You can't get a voucher, so private school or homeschooling becomes a less affordable Hold on. I can talk a bit, but I'm saying that to give people access to that, you remove the government restrictions. And the one president we've had in my lifetime that demonstrated that truth was Reagan. The more you take government off the backs of people, the more the people are able to do for each other as well as themselves.
Well, what I would say is that even if you're in the best school, if you're not in the right program within that school, you're still going to have a lack of education.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
They're going to be a certain demographic and a certain percentage of the school they're going to put most of their resource to, and the rest of them are going to go by the wayside and get less education. And it's not going to be equal or fair or equal to. One example of that is what level of math your child can go on. Can it go in regular math? Can you go college prep math? Can it go to IB math? Can it go to AP math? Can it go pre-AP math? That's not determined by the parent in most cases.
Yeah. Well, in your particular thing you're talking about, though, too, because we talked before the show a little bit about this. It had to do with a public school and how, certain kids are automatically put into a special education program because they don't have enough of a custom ability to custom an education program for an individual child. It's like vaccinations. It's largely cookie cutter. Every child gets this or this, and it's like that doesn't work for every child. Ooh. And so you have to have a system to allow people the ability to have more of a freedom of choice. And this comes back to my point about the Constitution Party. It amazes me the number of people who will say, well, no, you have to vote either Democrat or Republican. But you wouldn't accept that limit of choice on anything else. when you choose a hotel room, when you choose a home builder, when you choose a place to go shopping, you got a whole wide selection of choices, but we can only have 2 parties.
I know, and I appreciate the parties. I want to go back in for a solution on the system that's out there.
Let's do this on that note. All right, I'm gonna give you back floor on what you just said.
Yes, sir.
We're wrapping up phase here. We've got tons of great comments. All the comments, by the way, on the feed, I always address those.
Should we all just agree to a 2-hour show at this point?
Right. There's so much. I know there's so much. Right. All the comments on the comment feed will be addressed or commented on tomorrow. So don't worry. I appreciate all of your great comments. I'm going to turn it back to you guys with a kind of a final thoughts solution idea. What's your gut feeling? Your idea for the solution of our massive prison population. I don't know if that was where you were going, but I was going to say, head there.
Part of it, and so again,
be great,
be great,
be brilliant,
be brilliant. On 3, 2,
go.
Make great decisions, Tim. You can do it. Come on, little camper. Actually, just one of the points I wanted to reference, and we don't have time, but I just want to leave it as a final thought for everybody out there. Think of the final costs that are out there for our aging population inside the prison systems. The men and women that are in these prisons, they need long-term care. They need everything from the basic healthcare system to those that with mental and physical issues. And you look at that and you're like, are we able to support them? And your costs go up and up and up.
So you're closing with a capital punishment argument?
Absolutely. What I'm saying is, what my solution would be is for transitional periods for those who have been in there for non-violent crimes.
Yeah.
Exactly, because she was talking about the ones that were in there. So if you're in there for, I know it's 3 strikes rule and you're out, but if it's for a non-violent crime that's out there, let's get them transitioned out. Let's get them, see if we can get them rehabilitated and into some sort of program to where we can do that. Hey, I know tons of contractors out there that would love some labor, especially after Harvey in Houston last year.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so I think some of the stuff that you do, and actually some of the stuff that you've said as well.
Not as much as you, though.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Hello.
We do. My solution would be that you do need to start when they're younger. Mm-hmm. And you need to have, I remember a long time ago, we would have a pen pal. I don't know if y'all ever, but I pen palled in the prison system and kind of got to know people in the prison, which was so bizarre looking back. But at the same time,
didn't do that. I meant regular pen pals. Sorry.
But as a juvenile probation officer, that's what we did. So we were be able to get to know these guys. And so these people are like regular lives. They have, they're not. Yes, they did something bad, and there are violent offenders, and they chose to do that. But there's a lot of people that need the extra step or second chance. And by having the education, it all starts with the mind. I really believe that, because of my background, I've just seen they've already had the defeated. They've already felt defeated. My dad was in prison. My uncle's in prison. This is just my life. I'm just going to go kick it. And I've heard this so many times, even from my girls. I'm just going to go kick it in prison with my family. And they've already have that defeated mindset. So I think some of it just has to start with the mind that they're not defeated, that they have an opportunity. And where are they going to hear that opportunity if it's not from something? Because if they're doing the circle that's the same thing over and over and it feels right, and then they don't know that there's this other option out there that is different. So that's my personal.
Good point, Gina.
So the first thing is it's easier to build a child than it is to tear down a man or a woman. So the first point is when we start, we need to start early. But
you need some more wine on that one. That was good.
You went deep.
That was a good point.
You went deep on the cover.
Would you do me a favor and just say that again while I'm pouring? Just say that again.
That was beautiful. It's easier to build a child than it is to tear down a man.
Trying to get her drunk over here. Look at this.
I don't pour light, brother. You want some more?
Anyway, at that point being said, it is imperative not to lose people that are already in the system. You can build criminals just like you can build scholars. And to do this, you have to revamp the education system, but you also have to revamp the community itself. You need to allow the community to do their job of being supportive and not to bash them for being supportive. You don't need to make people fearful for being able to be supportive in it. You don't need to make parents fearful for being a parent. There is nothing wrong with discipline. I'm not talking about putting someone in a child abuse situation. I'm talking about being a stern figure and being this right is right and wrong is wrong. But at the same time, taking into account the child's age, taking into account the child's welfare, taking into account the economic they're in, and everything else. And why should a school be any different than what parents are standard for? I'm just asking why we can't put that situation together to the point that if there's a situation where a child act out, did they eat dinner? Did they eat breakfast?
There you go.
Did they eat lunch? Did they have clean clothes? Did they have a bed to sleep in?
Did they get a good night's sleep?
Did they have a parent that told them they loved them? Did they have someone that read to them? Did they have somewhere to go at night? Was the lights cut off? Was there food in the refrigerator? Was there things going on? And if you develop someone that is a normal, healthy lifestyle and that every time they get attention, it's only for something negative, they're going to continue that behavior. And if you only give them that negativity and then it becomes a culture issue, you're going to have a conditioning that's what I'm good at doing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and also if that's the only expression of love, that's what they'll take.
That's right.
Yeah, and they're going to get what they can.
There's justice and there's mercy, right? And parents show both, right?
Ooh, good
parents
point.
show justice and mercy. But if in a child in that situation, that's an excellent point. Because on my point on that is it just comes back to returning to a moral society, and you know it just. Especially my involvement in the show has illuminated. I mean, I've known this for years, but you see it play out over and over again. Everyone, I don't care what they claim to believe about, you know, who is actually God or whether there's an actually God or whatever, but every argument they come at is a religious argument, no matter what they do. Anytime you say you should or shouldn't do that, you're arguing religion.
Man, I tell you what, Will Smith makes a great point on this, and I love Will. I mean, just amazing actor. But him as a leader, he talks about fault versus responsibility.
Absolutely,
it's not your fault, but it may not be your fault. But damn sure, it's your responsibility to help be part of the solution.
But to Joe's point on that, there is no responsibility. There's no concept of that without God. And the God that our founder cited as the moral foundation for what we understand to be moral laws and
it becomes
morality.
Moral relativism.
Right.
But that's God in general, right?
This is no. This is wrapping up. I'm just saying that this is we're offering a solution.
Wrapping up as we enter into hour 2.
Right. Because here's the thing. I'm going to tie back to the point you made because it is brilliant. You're absolutely right. It is easier to build a child than it is to deconstruct or tear down a man, right? But that's exactly what we're doing. I think I made the point on the show just last week that, and I've said it before too, Dennis Scott, who was the father of Rachel Scott, one of the victims of the Columbine shooting, right? Yeah. I saw an appearance he had on some talk show, and he's an education history buff. And the reality is, to your point about education, is that in the first 150 years of America's education system, Benjamin Rush was actually the architect of that. And there's no accident in that. Benjamin Rush had been known for more than a decade, almost 2 decades, before we signed the Declaration of Independence, in his advocacy for teaching the Bible in public schools, right? As a tool for learning and correction.
Right.
So our education system was based on moral and character development, not on learning the 2+2s and the arts and the sciences and stuff like that. It was about moral and character development. Because when you develop that, when you develop someone's character, when you develop their understanding of morality, of human decency, the other things fall into place. When you take that out, all you're doing is equipping a child for evil, equipping a person for evil. And so what we've ended up with is a system where we have an education system that is absolutely devoid of God, to the point that in our supposedly religious liberty nation, right, we have religious liberty, but a child can't go to the public library in the school and even look at a Bible. It's not even available because that's seen as separation of church and state violation, right? But we get them to the prisons, and now all of a sudden we want to introduce the Bible and turn their life around at a point that they've already messed their life up, right?
Yeah, well, I'll tie this up.
I'll tie this up with this one last point, because there was one case, I can't remember the guy's name, but Joe, you remember I highlighted it on Facebook and shared it far and wide. The guy that was he had rehabilitated his life. He had served his sentence. He had applied for an early release. The judge released him. he was sentenced to, it was an ungodly sentence, like what we talked about. It was a drug crime.
60-year crime.
Or 40 years or
Yeah,
something like that, and he got out in 25, right, which is still an incredibly long time. And the U.S. district attorney, or one of the district attorneys, on some technicality, brought him back to court and had him sent back to prison.
Whoa.
To the point that all of his friends threw a
His
party
release
for him
was
to go back to
accidental.
prison. He had turned his life around, had a job, was leading a
Gainfully
Bible
employed.
study. I mean, this guy, a black man, was living life the way that you would want to see a citizen live his life, regardless of his history. And yet, so that speaks to your point about the whole, hey, we want to suck him back in. That was the case that if you wanted to see the Black Lives Matter thing, the narrative being pushed to show injustices against black people, that would have been my case. That would have been the case I signed up for and said, hey, I'm Black Lives Matter now, because that is wrong.
Right, and I'm leaving enriched. I love all the stories here, but I don't feel that we're any closer to a solution.
Because they don't want one.
Yeah, well, okay, so let me
We
tell you.
talked about that,
I was saving, my closing comment type thing. This, for me, the solution, I think, is a very obvious and apparent solution. But you said they don't want one. I don't think, I think the lost human soul both does and doesn't want one, right? Sin is fun. Nobody would be doing it if it wasn't fun. So I'll say this, that the solution is very simple. That without a God in our life to have a higher opinion on what is and isn't right or wrong, whatever, we've already lost the battle, right?
And an understanding of eternity.
Right. And so then the second step of that is that especially today, I almost challenge people to watch TV and see how long it takes before you see a commercial where you have the bumbling idiot dad.
Oh,
Who
seconds.
can't... Yeah, who can't tie his shoes without getting out of the house, unless it was for the superhero mom.
Dad's trapped in the blinds again.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So true.
and every sitcom where the dad is a lazy idiot
And has
Or
no
dad's
authority
son.
over the family.
and has no authority over the
That's
family. The
right.
mom is running the show
Right.
and everything else. That's a repeated theme where we have dads demonized in our society. What child wants to grow up and be a dad? When that's what he's constantly fed 24/7 in the media and the culture around us, right? Should the mom, was there years of the mom looking like the idiot in our TV? Yeah, absolutely. My wife always, because every time I see a TV, I'm like, there's another idiot dad.
I love Lucy, right?
Right, and she goes, they're just making up for all the years where mom was the idiot, right? And I'm like, I don't disagree with that comment. How about this idea? None of them are idiots.
I kind of do though, because at least even in those days, like the I Love Lucy days, even then, most of the time, if you look at the outcome, the dad had to face a moment of humility where, mom was right. I should have listened. Right?
So my solution is this. First of all, realize that our nation was founded on a godly concept that all law flowed from, and that two, that a family should be uplifted, and nowadays it's evil if you actually want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, how dare you sell out your female
Strong
woman
femininity.
power? Yeah, you're lesser of a woman if you want to. I mean, because we dealt with that. Kim was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and people looked like she was a second-class citizen because she enjoyed being a mom and wanted to be at home with the kids.
And it's the hardest job.
Yes.
And you don't
oh
get paid what
gosh.
you're worth. I mean, we go
No.
broke
Right.
if we had.
You
Yeah.
And
don't
so
get
I'm
a
like-
plaque that says employee of the month.
The solution for me is real simple. You first of all, we recognize that we need God as a nation. We need God as a people. Then second to that is that family is the social structure that keeps the fabric of our society together. Without dad, we're going to have 90% of the prison population in prison. So we uplift both roles of father and mother. We uplift both of those. We celebrate both of those. And we glorify those, and we commit to a family.
Amen.
Hey,
All right.
But don't confuse God with religion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a whole nother show.
Yeah, whole other show.
Colton, any closing arguments?
So,
you
we have to
go-
rate the wine.
Yep.
We have to rate the wine.
Closing thoughts
Oh, yeah.
at the same time?
I thought that was just
I
closing
thought
thoughts, what we just did.
We just closed.
Oh, sort of. Okay. You know me.
Thank you.
I've always got one more closing thought.
Yeah.
Mark it.
But I could always have one more closing thought.
Yes, we can go into hour 2. All right, so We were drinking today. Alex, you have the wine, all right, up on the screen. We were drinking, I couldn't even begin to pronounce it again without my... Yeah, thank you.
There it is.
Yeah, the first name is Kudaland. I know it's a Pinotage, which is really kind of unique to South Africa wine. It's a Pinot Noir grape and a Sin-Salt grape that they blended, and that's entirely unique to South Africa. So you won't find them anywhere else but South Africa. So anyway, red wine, it's a Pinotage. We're going to give our thoughts on it, and we're going to wrap up the show. So, Tim.
I give my Candyland card is 4 of these plums. I'm moving 4 spaces to the front.
They
grapes.
Yeah, they're supposed to be grapes, but they actually are plums.
Aww,
Well, look at the big brain on Brad. Name that movie. There we go. So I give it 4 plums, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't.
You can get percentages, by the way.
Did not taste the leather, but
percentages.
wow, what a great, robust wine. Not too dry, not too sweet. It was right on point. I would love to have a great steak from Three Forks or Perry's with that. So if you're watching,
production, send Perry's and the Three Forks an invoice, please. Thank you. All right.
I'm like 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, it was really, after you described the wine, it really made good sense. And it was good for like barbecue. When you did that description, it's good for that. So 4.5, it was delicious.
4.5. Absolutely. I can taste the caramel in it. I really can. Yep. Not with this one, because I just literally did that. And I was like, I can't taste caramel at all. And I'm like, oh yeah, we drank that one.
Now I feel so much smarter now. Hold on, I still taste caramel now.
But hey, you got the plums.
This is a very solid, drinkable wine for me. I would actually really probably. I'm in my head. I'm thinking I'd probably give it a higher rating if I had kind of a hearty meat with it. I see it going together. Yeah,
it needs that compliment.
It needs the compliment. Yeah, it's a pretty big wine. It really is. It's got a lot of flavor to it. So this is a 4.25 for me. 4.25.
So I think it depends on your taste and what level of wine drinker you are. I would give it a 4, but I know my husband would hate it. So I have to buy 2 separate wines every time when we go to go buy. So I know if you like Second Harvest or you like a sweeter wine or a lighter wine itself, you would hate it. But if you like a more body and fuller wine that would go with, again, a heartier meal, you'll be fine. And I think it would be a really great marinade.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be a really...
Okay.
And
it would be a pricey marinade, but...
Yeah. And if you really had to blow the bank, you could actually make your spaghetti with it.
Oh.
I think you would do really well with that, or add it to your pasta sauce.
That's on the next show where there's
anyway,
in the background.
I can see that.
But I can tell you, if it wasn't in the food, my husband would hate it because he likes more light wine and a fruitier wine. So if that's your take, I wouldn't try this. But if you are a little bit more of a connoisseur, where you like a little bit more dry but not too dry, that's where we're at.
Okay. And a 4? You give it 4? Okay.
Okay, so the closing thought I'd been saving. I didn't know that we weren't going to have one, so I'll be very brief. You know me, I'm always real brief, right, Joe? No. My closing thought is, it is Father's Day weekend, folks. Happy Father's Day to all the dads.
Yes, Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads. And to Joe's point earlier, something that I say every year on Father's Day, please stop this nonsense of saying Happy Father's Day to single moms. Single moms are not more important than married moms. You're a mom, just like dad is dad. I would never assume that I could ever, even if I could be the best father I could ever hope to be, I will never ever be able to replace the role of mother. Ever. No father ever will. So don't delude yourself into thinking, single moms, that you replace the role of dad. You don't. I will definitely admit that it is harder to do the job when you're by yourself. But I will say, to the point earlier, that a big reason for the problem that we're having is this almost worship of single motherhood status, regardless of how you got there, right? Because there is irresponsibility on all sides, right?
Bigger daggers, I got you.
Big time daggers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point, though. We need to honor the family. Honor the role of mom, honor the role of dad, and the best way you can do that is to understand neither one of those, as good as you can be, will ever replace the other. Yes. Ever. So with that said, That was my closing thought.
Yeah. Closing thought. You can't say anything else.
Tune in after the show when we go live on Instagram and the fireworks start going for real. All right.
I think at the end of it, he could have even put neener.
That's right. That's right. If I wasn't holding this rating sheet, I would be sticking my tongue out into the neener boo-boo. Okay. So, with that said, Joe, you know that I am loath to ever give a Whine a 5 rating. I have never, ever done it before.
True story.
And I fought myself to do it here, but it is done.
Whoa! All right.
I think this could be the Whine to unite you and your husband, okay?
Tonight.
I meant only on the wine taste.
Me
I like where you're going with that, though.
Yeah, exactly.
But I gotta say,
Father's Day.
listen. Here's the thing. I've developed 2 systems of ratings on this show to come up with how to rate the wine.
Yes.
First is as I'm drinking the wine that we're rating. Right? I savored. I've never used that word before in this. Right? I've savored every sip of that wine, whatever it was. I'm going to look it up later. But the other thing is that when I took my first sip of the box wine, I was repulsed.
Yeah.
Momentarily, I was repulsed. That's never happened before.
Francis
This is a
knows,
5,
right?
folks. It was fantastic. It's
Yeah,
very
that
good
was
wine.
good.
Yeah.
Kudos.
I have a very small comment.
No, you don't. No.
After the show. After the show, Instagram.
After the show.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you for letting me be on the show. Awesome. And that's how I got it there.
Hey, come on,
So-
And
go with
see.
it.
Super fast.
So
super
my
fast.
small comment is that you don't have to be a biological father to be a dad.
Oh, yeah.
You can
Oh,
be
amen.
you
Oh,
can
we
be
all agree
a
with that.
person in community
Oh, I
that has
100%
nothing to
agree
do
with
with that person. You can be a father figure in the sense of it. You can be a person to someone to look up to. You can be a role model
The Big
as a
Brothers
man.
thing.
Which
You can
goes
be,
back
you don't
to
have
the
to be a
solution to
biological
our
father to
problem.
be
Yes,
a man.
that's right.
And single mothers shouldn't have to feel guilty about not being a man and a father.
No, and
There's
let me say that I'm not at all trying to make single moms feel guilty. I'm just saying that we have a society that has, like, you see it over and over again. You know, some woman getting interviewed on TV or whatever. I'm a single mom. Oh, yay, single mom. No, yes, it's wonderful that you're a mother, and we need to honor all mothers. It's a calling. It's that's something that is God given.
there's
But
boarding school.
but you can't say that single moms deserve a status that elevates them over all other moms.
Hold on. You know what? I'm okay if they're taking that, but give them the tie.
The credits are
And
rolling.
then give me something else that is
Music
on
is
the
playing.
Dads get the ugly tie and moms get the
Like I
flowers.
said,
Yeah, let them have the
You
tie,
don't have
right?
to be a biological father to be a father. You can be an
Oh,
uncle.
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
be a grandfather. You can
That's
be
true.
No, I agree
in
with
our
that.
community. You do not have to be a biological father.
That's
to
what
have
your
a
point
father.
was
Yeah,
when you
that-
first
that-
raised
yeah.
a father
And-
figure.
And
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
gonna take it further. I've seen same-sex couples. I've seen 2 ladies raised, and you're not gonna like this. I know you're not gonna like this
Because
but
they're
I
not.
know.
That's
I've seen
child
one
abuse.
take. I was just saying is that the situation they were put in. I've seen that, and I've seen a beautiful relationship and well-positioned children to go up and help out in society. I'm just saying, I've seen it, whether you agree with it or not.
Well, you can
Yeah.
see it from your own
But then
finite
you still
perspective.
But at the same
but
time,
it's-
But
they
they
can
still
see
have
but-
a father
the
figure.
situation.
So we're going to wrap up.
All right.
What was
We're
the
gonna wrap
topic
up.
today?
Yeah.
Yeah. It always goes all over the place.
I really wish I could remember the name of the place because it's such a kind of an unusual name, but it's a martial arts facility, and I want to say it's in Detroit. And they have this really incredible training system for young boys where they involve the father. And as part of the initiation process, they teach the young boys that they stand on the shoulders of the men who went before them and this kind of concept. And so they have the dad as part of the initiation. One of the things that they have the dad do, they come out and they have them do push-ups, right? And the master instructor is teaching them. Huh?
This is us.
No, it's not a TV show. This is a real
An actual dojo.
It's an actual gym. I posted about it. I've shared videos from them. They have the dad come out and they have the son get on his back,
Oh, wow.
right? And if he doesn't have a dad, it's a father figure. So it's, in order to be to train in this facility, you have to have a father role represented, right?
Yeah, brother.
And
on that point, we absolutely agree.
And so
Absolutely.
the dad is doing the push-ups and doing as many as he can, and they'll even take and have the stand-in man for the child do the role. But anyway, it's all about that on the back of the man who is in your life leading you. He has a role in this child's life to be an example, to carry his weight, to carry the weight of that child into adulthood.
That's great symbolism.
Oh man, it's so powerful. You watch the videos and what they're doing, and how they teach spiritual truths to these kids while they're teaching them martial arts.
They'll never forget that.
Oh, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And I mean, there was a scene with this one of the boys where he was breaking the board, and he had him breaking it with his left hand, opposite from his strong hand. And he was hitting the board, and over and over, he couldn't break the board, and the kid started crying. And he was talking to him. He's like, it's okay to cry. There's nothing wrong. As a man, it's okay to feel, to be emotional and be connected to your emotion. But it's also, as a man, to face your fear, to face this pain that you are feeling, and to push through that pain, because one day you are going to have to lead, and that boy is going to look at you. And I mean, I was like emotional watching it, because I take with my son, we do martial arts, but the lessons they were imparting these boys, I shared that video. I said, this here, right? This will fix so many ails in our society when they tie that dad role in there and they glorify that dad role. Right. How important that dad is to that son, and whether it was a biological dad or not didn't matter.
Not
that he
just
had
to
that.
the son, to the girls as well.
Yeah,
that role is
so I
so
guess
absolutely
critical.
So the solution for prisons and having less prisoners is to have more people in the community be able to be those father figures for the
step up and be dad. Yeah, I mean, like there will be no replacement for dad, right? But in lieu of dad, there are men that can step up and assume that role and carry that burden and that weight. Absolutely.
There is something to that too, that we have to have a society that speaks to encouraging that.
Yes.
Not just allowing it.
Yes. No,
encouraging it. We have a system.
I said glorifying it. I'm saying lifting it up and praising it.
This is going to be self-serving. I fully admit. But that's the thing. That's one of the movements of the Constitution Party is to get rid of this whole thing of the default position in a custody or a divorce situation where it's just a default. Okay, you want a divorce, that means the child's going to the mother, and dad, you got to pay support. Okay, there's a big problem there, and it breeds. That's a whole other show. I get that, but what we've got to start we've got to have I want to do it too. We've got to have a system even in our courts that embraces and supports the family structure, to say, hey, I don't care, Mr. 16-year-old, what do they call it, baby daddy, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't care about that. Here's the deal. You're either going to be a dad or you're going to pay support. The default position of the court is that it's 50-50, no support, unless one or the other parent can show a reason for why the other person should not be a parent and should have to pay support.
That's
right?
if both do 50-50 amount of work.
Well, no, it's not determined by 50-50 amount of work, because that's the role of family. The only thing I'm trying to say with that is that you have to get rid of this system that encourages breaking up the family. That's the point, is to embrace fatherhood and
really
motherhood.
Need a 2-hour show.
But we're
going to go live on Instagram. We're going to go live on Instagram, and we're going to keep talking about this.
Happy Father's Day!
Right.
I'm all about it.
It's actually, it's actually a very timely subject, considering Father's Day. Is right around the corner here.
I think you engineered it that way. I don't know you're not imagining.
It was on the list for a reason, but I mean, y'all voted on it, so that's.
I love it, man. It was good stuff all the way around.
We go live on Instagram after the show, and it's just kind of a casual thing. We're going to sit in the conference room and eat pizza.
If you get queasy at the sight of blood, you may not want to watch. I've got a feeling that I'm going to get me in trouble.
Oh my goodness!
So it's we don't really pay attention to the camera or anything.
That's for sure. I was locked outside. I couldn't get in because he's not paying attention to the camera.
True story. He's like, "Is anybody there? Hello." He was
I'm here.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be live on Instagram. Hop over on Instagram. Look up the Whine No Whine, just Whine No Whine show. You'll find us. I take a picture of the wine. I share it on the page. The average wine rating today was a 4.35. That's a pretty rocking rating. So anyway, we're out, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll be back next week, Thursday, for the artist edition of the show at 7 p.m. and next week, Friday at 6 for the original edition. See y'all later.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, great.